the way that the enemy works, it's interesting. Like he is the tempter and the accuser. And so like he tempted me with this at a young age. When I gave into the temptation, the accusations and the voice in my head started. You're weird. You're perverted. You're messed up. You're one of the only people that struggle with this at this deep of a level, right? It's interesting. Like it strengthened as I became an adult. And again, like being a business owner, being a husband, being a father, being somebody that from the outside looking in, people were like, you know, Mason's got it together. And I was very concerned about making other people, painting this illusion that I did have it together. It became even less acceptable. And I started to buy into this lie at an even deeper level that I got to be one of the only, you know, strong Christian men that look like they have it all together, that have, you know, a beautiful wife and an amazing child, that have a successful business, that are still struggling with this childish thing in my mind, right? There was this point in my life where my marriage was just breaking and it was headed towards imminent destruction, right? My wife and I had argued, but the arguments shifted from contention to like logistics. When we get divorced, how often am I going to get to see my kid? At this point, it was still a secret. And I think that's what weighed on me most is I was living one life to everybody else. And then I was living this separate secret life I just knew about. I wondered if this secret life had something to do with my marriage falling apart because she doesn't know about it. Like it's just me and my phone. Like I do this in secret. Could these things be connected? I realized that it didn't really matter if they were and if that's what was causing my marriage to fail. Like whether my marriage was amazing or it failed, like if I had this secret and if I felt guilt and shame and like I was stuck and I couldn't get out, I didn't want to live another day like that. My pain of staying the same became greater than the pain of admitting that I have a problem and dealing with the consequences of it. And biblically, like I had to step into humility, which I didn't understand I was doing at the time. I was just broken, right? Pride comes before the fall, and like humility is a prerequisite for healing. And so that moment where I admitted that I had a problem, I started trying to seek help. It was a long, really painful journey, but that started the shift of exiting the bondage that I was in and like the darkness that I was trapped in, the invisible prison that I felt like I was in, to going through this journey of discovering why I actually had this problem, right? Because it wasn't just a behavior issue or a willpower problem. It was much deeper than that, on the journey that eventually led to Unchained Leader and, 9,000 plus guys that have been, walked through our process at this point.